There are some true liberals left in the Liberal Party, not too many these days. There's some people who are completely devoid of ideology. They're just there to win or to cash in somehow. And then there are the true radicals, mostly Marxists. I know that sounds like a dramatic flourish to accuse someone of being a communist in 2024, but it's not an accusation, it's a description. Or in this case, it's pretty much what they call themselves. Look at this from Stephen Guilbeault, the convicted criminal who serves as Trudeau's environment minister. It was a tweet that I now have access to since he's unblocked me by court order. He says, "We are committed to advancing environmental justice because every individual in Canada has a right to a healthy environment. We want to hear from you. Share your experiences to help shape policy and advance environmental equity in Canada here." And then there's a link, which I'll get to in a moment. So when I was a kid, the environment was clean air, clean soil, clean water. Pretty easy to understand. Global warming, not so much. You can't see it. You have to take someone's word for it. Greenhouse gases, the number one of which is simply water vapor, they're all invisible and harmless. I mean, carbon dioxide, which is the one that the government obsesses over, it's harmless. Humans and animals exhale it. Plants breathe it in. Like I say, not really anything to do with clean air, clean water, and clean soil. But at least they were pretending it was about the environment, although I think most of us see through that now. But look at this new thing, environmental justice or environmental equity, as they're also calling it. That link continues to an official Government of Canada page, and I clicked on it. It says, "Welcome to Advancing Environmental Equity, Environment and Climate Change Canada. It is engaging with a broad range of voices from across the country to help inform policies and initiatives that could advance environmental equity. Advancing environmental equity means no single group or community is at a disadvantage in dealing with hazardous environmental exposures, pollution, or natural disasters, regardless of their social position. It involves identifying inequities and providing those affected with the support needed to achieve a position of equity. We invite you to visit regularly to learn more about our consultation and engagement activities, how you can get involved, and to have your say." And then there's that register button, and I clicked register, and I clicked on set up a new account, and I entered my info, and it asked me to set up a password, but I tried about 5 times and it wouldn't work. It gave me a false error message that I didn't have enough characters in my password, but I did. It just wouldn't work. Seriously, what a perfect illustration of this Trudeau government. Weird ideological obsessions, but no ability to actually do anything in the real world. I wonder how many millions of dollars they spent on that website and which Liberal got the contract. But here's what wasn't broken on the page. Here's the first link. Let's look at it for a bit on the enviroequity.ca page. Advancing environmental justice. I'll read a bit. In December 2021, the mandate letter for the Minister of Environment and Climate Change included a commitment to introduce legislation to require the development of an environmental justice strategy. In February 2022, the government supported the private member's bill C-226, an act respecting the development of a national strategy to assess, prevent, and address environmental racism and to advance environmental justice in Parliament. So it's got nothing to do with clean air, clean soil, clean water. It's about queering the environment, about radicalizing it, about genderizing it, about transgenderizing it, about turning it into the next Marxist battleground. Here, I'll read more. This bill includes the requirement to have a strategy to promote efforts across Canada to advance environmental justice and to assess, prevent, and address environmental racism. What? This includes a study looking at the links between race, socioeconomic status, and environmental risks. The strategy will include these findings and measures to advance environmental justice, such as possible amendments to federal laws, policies, and programs. It's like when Trudeau brought in gender analysis to new pipeline projects. Seriously, remember that?
As a government body looking at how every different decision can have an impact on women in a positive or a negative way. Even big infrastructure projects. You might not say, oh, what does a gender lens have to do with building this new highway or this new pipeline or something? Well, there are gender impacts. When you bring construction workers into a rural area, there are social impacts because they're mostly male construction workers. How are you adjusting and adapting to those? That's what the gender lens in GBA plus budgeting is all about. These are all things that we've been doing, not to be nice or to be better or to be moral, but to be smart about getting the very best out of all of our citizens and making the very best out of our economy.
Basically, big construction projects like mines, they usually hire a lot of men, so they're obviously sexist and have to be stopped. I wish I were kidding. Now they're going to apply that to the environment. Here, I'll read more. Environmental justice and environmental racism are broad concepts that can be applied in various contexts. While environmental racism and justice is a new area of work for the Government of Canada, grassroots organizations have significant knowledge and experience in advocating for communities and raising awareness on these issues. The Government of Canada aims to work with these organizations, affected communities, and those with lived experiences to inform the development of a national strategy. So they're going to get little radical groups out there to find this kooky ideological BS. And of course, they're all paid for by the government anyway, so they'll get government grants. Don't think for a second they don't. This whole thing's made up. So they can make it stand for anything. Like I say, nothing to do with clean air, clean water, clean soil, all of which I like, by the way. Everything to do with pitting us against each other based on race and gender, pure cultural Marxism. I've just got to read this next part to you. Frequently asked questions. What is environmental justice? That's a good question. Here's their answer. In Canada, there is no definition of environmental justice that is accepted by everyone. Instead, environmental justice is considered a concept that can be applied in various contexts. Environmental justice is a movement, seeking to ensure fair and meaningful inclusion of affected peoples and equal sharing of benefits and costs when making decisions about the environment. Equal sharing, That's a tip-off. When making these decisions, environmental justice aims to recognize and seek to address the existing inequalities faced by Indigenous, racialized, or otherwise marginalized communities. Do you know what that means? Of course you don't, and neither do they. And you might be thinking, well, shouldn't the government know what it's talking about when it's going to do something like this? And that's where you'd be wrong, because you're thinking about this wrong. The whole point is for environmental justice, environmental equity to be so vague that it literally can be used to do anything to anyone for any reason. That's not a bug, it's a feature. So you could expropriate someone's business, theoretically. You could block a mega project or let another one through. It's magic, really. There's not right or wrong. It's not like math, where 2 + 2 = 4, it's whatever the activists say. They'll listen to the street teams. You've heard of justice, of course. We know what justice means. The word is literally thousands of years old. It was the name of Roman emperors, Justinian. And it was about the law and justice. Justinian wrote the Corpus Juris Civilis, which means the body of civil law. He did that 1,500 years ago. Here's a printing of it 500 years ago. It's such an important building block of the West. Everyone knows what the law is and its importance. And everyone knows that one of the most important things about a law is you get judges and justice that's blind. Justice judges on the merits, not on your last name or your race or your gender or your background. The rule of law means everyone is the same before justice. That's what that blindfold is about. But if you add an adjective to justice, then immediately you've changed it, haven't you? You've taken the blindfold off because you're going to favor certain things. It's like the difference between a journalist and a government journalist, right? That's the difference between justice and social justice, isn't it? Social justice was just a battering ram to smash through real justice in the name of race and sex or other socialism. Well, this is adding a new front, environmental justice. Of course, they don't know what it means, or if they know, they're not going to tell you because that would be too right-wing to have a fixed definition.